I've been praying since I got here for the salmon, for everybody who relies on the salmon.
Tonight, crews in BC have been working around the clock to try to get salmon through a massive landslide. Now, they've made some progress.
We've provided boiled water for our community members, our youth, our elders for the last 20 years, and this is a big day.
A First Nation community will finally be getting clean water. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. Since the announcement of the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion project, there have been hundreds of actions and protests. APTN's Tina House tells us the story of one young woman who has put her health on the line to speak out against the pipeline.
It's been 4 days since Adrian Rain Flynn Napoosh has had anything to eat or drink. Now her hunger strike is coming to an end, and this cup of water and a strawberry is really appreciated.
So good. And the first day is always the easiest. There's lots of smiles. It's good to see friends again, and you definitely get a sense of peace on sitting in the land. And then as it moves on to the second day, you feel the hunger and you feel the cold. A thunderstorm rolled over, and we had periods of intense rain, of cold, and just the dampness. It gets harder. Moving into the third day, that hunger sort of turns into a tiredness.
In what's being called the Stop TMX Hunger Strike and Vision Quest, the action started late last week and took place at the Watch House near Kinder Morgan's tank farm on Burnaby Mountain. For Flynn Napoosh, she says it was important for her to take a stand against the Trans Mountain Pipeline project.
We have people amongst us now who have been political prisoners for a very non-crime, a very peaceful, very ceremonial crime that I feel harkens back to a lot of things like potlatch ban. If you watch the videos of people being arrested, they were singing, drumming, in prayer, not threatening, not rioting, and they were put on stretchers and dragged away.
Rita Wong was one of those put onto a stretcher, dragged away, and arrested by RCMP in August of 2018. She was sentenced to 28 days in prison recently and was just released.
And I was treated very kindly by the other inmates in the prison who understood that I was there because of a larger purpose for everybody.
Wong is a university professor at Emily Carr. She teaches environmental ethics, humanities, and creative writing.
But I've had a lot of support from my colleagues and from students who understand why I did what I did. So I've had many people offer to teach my classes. You know, I've had students break into applause when they found out why I was going to be late for class because I was in court. So I feel grateful that my community understands why we are here and why we need to protect the land and water from this expansion that none of us can afford.
Meanwhile, just 100 yards away from the Watch House, work still continues in preparation for the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion. Tina House, APTN National News, Burnaby.
It's been over 2 months since a massive landslide on a remote part of the Fraser River in British Columbia was first discovered. The landslide stopped hundreds of thousands of salmon from making it to their spawning grounds. But after 10 hard weeks of work, crews say salmon are now swimming past the blockade. APTN's Lori Hamlin visited the incident command post in Lillooet and has this story.
Greg Witzke has been fishing salmon on the Fraser River since he was a young boy. Witzke works with the Fraser River Aboriginal Fisheries Secretariat and says fish are his life. So when asked to be part of the unified command, leading response operations at the Big Bar landslide, Witzke literally jumped at the chance.
I was offered the opportunity, I jumped at it. Jumped higher than a fish when I was offered.
In late June, the massive landslide was discovered in a remote canyon 3 hours north of Lillooet. Boulders the size of 2-story houses crashed 125 meters down the cliff into the Fraser River. That blockade stopped hundreds of thousands of fish migrating to their spawning grounds. meaning a critical food source for First Nations could be wiped out.
I've been praying since I got here for the salmon, for everybody who relies on the salmon, for the animals, the ecosystem.
180 crew members, many of them First Nations, have worked tirelessly to save the Chinook and sockeye.
First Nations involvement here is right from the top level steering committee all the way to field crews on the ground and managers in the field. There's probably 1/3 of the staff in the field are First Nations.
The job isn't easy. Rescue efforts have included controlled blasts, moving fish upstream by helicopter, fish wheels, and transporting fish by truck, all without big success. But Witzke says things have finally changed.
We've been here over 2 months now, and salmon are getting through on their own, which was our priority, a natural passage. In the last week, almost 120,000 salmon have swum through by themselves. To me, that's a success. If we can keep that up and get the rest of the salmon through that way, we've done our job, and we'll make history here by doing this.
Rebecca Riley from Statlium Nation has been working on the punt boat team, 14 days on, 3 days off. Riley says she was amazed when she first arrived on site.
To see this and big, powerful guys and, just working together, and this is where I'm going to be working. Wow, this is intense. As a First Nations woman, it was really amazing to see forestry guys, DFO guys, Coast Guard guys, old people, young people, women, men. Everybody came together, and we were doing the same job to try to save the salmon.
The salmon are now swimming past the landslide on their own. But the pink salmon run is arriving, and fingers are crossed they'll also be able to make it by themselves.
Things are working out. I feel I'm sad that I'm not working, but at the same time I'm really happy that they're making it through on their own. The species are going to make it. It's moving. It's really powerful.
Lori Hamlin, APTN National News, Lillooet.
And we'd like to hear what you have to say. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Find us online at aptnnews.ca and on youtube.com/aptnnews. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest Indigenous news. After being under a boil water advisory for 22 years, Shoal Lake 40 First Nation on the Manitoba-Ontario border is finally getting their own water treatment plant. APTN's Jolene Banning brings us the details.
The lake, Shoal Lake 40 First Nation sits on, has supplied water to the city of Winnipeg for over a century. Yet, the community has been under a boil water advisory for decades.
1, 2, 3, go! Hey!
Finally, community and partners broke ground on the site of the new treatment plant.
We provided boiled water for our community members, our youth, our elders for the last 20 years, and this is a big day.
Winnipeg MP Dan Vandel is Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Indigenous Services. He's well aware of the Anishinaabe community's need for clean drinking water and a decent road. After depending on a ferry and ice road in winter to get in and out, now they'll be getting both.
This is really about our government, Indigenous Services, respecting the rights, the needs, the desires, the plans of Indigenous nations across Canada, but specifically this morning, the plans of Shoal Lake 40.
The federal Liberals promised in the last election to eradicate all boil water advisories by March 2021. Since 2015, 87 long-term drinking water advisories have been lifted. Another 50 advisories still remain in effect.
We are investing approximately $34 million to open the water treatment plant here in Shoal Lake.
The community hopes the new road, dubbed Freedom Road, will boost economic development. Shoal Lake 40 contractors, in partnership with Sigfusson Northern Ltd., won the bid for the water treatment plant.
The joint venture partnership we put together actually calls for first preference for all Shoal Lake members. So any position that's available within the workforce is offered locally first to Shoal Lake 40 members, as well as business opportunities.
Construction starts immediately. The plant should be finished in December 2020. Andrea Revsky used to be a principal of an elementary school in North End, Winnipeg, but she quit that job when Freedom Road opened.
I made a promise that if we ever had a road, that I would come back. So this past year, I resigned my position as a principal in Winnipeg, and I'm teaching grade 6, 7, and 8 class here.
As a 60s scoop survivor, Revsky is now home. After decades of living under a boiled water advisory, the community is coming together with a renewed focus. It's one based on education and training opportunities, economic development, and clean, safe drinking water. For APTN National News, I'm Jolene Banning in Shoal Lake 40 First Nation.
Well, it's official. A federal election will be held on October 21st. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is expected to visit the Governor General on Wednesday to ask Julie Payette to dissolve Parliament. Meanwhile, it's Election Day in Manitoba. That provincial election sees former broadcaster and hip-hop artist Wab Kinew leading the NDP. It's the first time a First Nations man has sought out the top job in a provincial election in Canada. However, polls have favored the Progressive Conservative Party, led by Brian Pallister, cruising to another majority government. Time for a quick break, and then the latest from Thunder Bay ahead of Braden Bushby's second-degree murder trial. Stay with us. Here's a look at Wednesday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. Showers and 17 for Halifax. Partly sunny and 18 for St. John's. 11 under sunny skies in Nain. 15 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. Showers and 25 in Montreal. Rain and 15 for Saguenay. 28 is the high for Toronto with showers. 26 and rain for Ottawa. Sunny and cool with a high of 13 for Thunder Bay and Wawa. 12 in Sioux Lookout. 16 above under sunny skies for Churchill and Thompson. 15 with rain in God's Lake. 16 in Winnipeg, Gimli, and Dauphin. 14 for Brandon. 12 with showers for Regina and Saskatoon. 11 in rain in North Battleford. Sunny and 18 in Uranium City. 15 in Stony Rapids. Welcome back. Lawyers are back in Thunder Bay this week in court preparing for the second-degree murder trial of Braden Bushby. Bushby is accused of killing Barbara Kentner in 2017. Willow Fiddler has this update.
Braden Bushby pleaded not guilty in a Thunder Bay courtroom Monday. Bushby was charged with second-degree murder in November of 2017. He allegedly threw a trailer hitch out a car window, striking Barbara Kentner, a 34-year-old Anishinaabe woman who was walking down the street. Bushby was initially charged with aggravated assault before Kentner died about 6 months after the attack. Lawyers will argue three main points: whether Bushby did in fact throw the trailer hitch that hit Kentner, if he intended to hurt Kentner, and if the impact of that trailer hitch caused the injuries that led to Kentner's death. A Superior Court is hearing a number of pretrial motions from lawyers this week. A publication ban remains in effect, so we can't discuss any of the details right now. Jury selection is scheduled to start January 13th, and the trial is expected to begin shortly after that. Willow Fiddler, APTN National News, Thunder Bay.
Last night we brought you this story about a breastfeeding mother's fight to bring her baby to the classroom. The fight includes an outburst in the classroom, a human rights complaint, and a chief stepping in. APTN has exclusively obtained a video of the classroom confrontation. Here's Angel Moore with part 2.
Yeah, I saw all your posts. Oh, that was They're horrible. I saw them and I took pictures of every one of them.
Kiara Grubin did not expect protecting her rights would lead to an argument in the classroom with the program coordinator.
That this is really sad that this is how this issue comes to light when it should have been brought to light and addressed a long time ago, and instead it was addressed in this manner, which was not professional.
Grubin has been in a battle with St. Thomas University since she started the Mi'kmaq Maliseet social work program 2 years ago. She says she has a right to bring her baby to class. The university disagrees. She filed a human rights complaint against St. Thomas and says the video shows what is really going on.
So the fact that something like this, which displays a quite different reality than what they've been portraying, it doesn't leave me surprised one bit that they would be trying to deny or distort or discredit the evidence in front of them.
Grubin is also a councillor of Kingsclear First Nation. She has the support from her community. Chief Gabriel Atwin says when he saw the video, it is clear St. Thomas University is not supporting Indigenous students to succeed.
Talking to Kiera in a condescending, I would say, way. Unfortunately, us as Indigenous people have gone through so much.
Jeffrey Carlton, spokesperson for St. Thomas University, says he has not seen the video and will not look into it.
I didn't know about the video, but what's positive about going the human rights route is that there's very specific language and requirements set down by the New Brunswick Human Rights Commission by which the student's complaint will be measured against.
Grubin says she's not surprised St. Thomas is ignoring the video.
And that's really how privilege works, is that they get to pick and choose what they share, what they don't share, what they erase, and what they minimize. And that's what these colonial institutions have always done to Indigenous voices.
But Chief Atwin says the video does need to be looked into.
Yeah, I believe it was very unprofessional and it needs to be investigated.
Grubin is waiting on the decision from the New Brunswick Human Rights Commission. She has 1 year left in her program and classes started on Monday. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Kingsclear First Nation.
It failed to be a week of high-level meetings for a Manitoba First Nations man. He has been in the Ottawa region trying to talk to politicians and bureaucrats over allegations of vote buying in his community. As Todd Lamoran reports, his message fell mostly on deaf ears, except back home.
I'm big-mouthing because all I need is a decision to be rendered in the appeals process. I had done everything.
Clarence Sumner has set up his signs and is doing a one-person protest outside Indigenous Affairs because he didn't get a meeting with any cabinet ministers. And it's been nearly a week since he spoke to a couple of bureaucrats.
I was actually requesting to have another meeting with them, and I was denied.
Sumner believes elections on the Penamutang First Nation are not run fairly. He successfully appealed the 2011 election, but a federal court overruled it. He says his latest appeal has fallen on deaf ears.
With only receptionists coming downstairs to talk with me or either take a little bit of information from me, and that's how I'm treated.
He says he's wearing a Canadian cap and flag to be treated seriously like other Canadians with his complaint.
Well, May 28th to this date is almost 4 months, and it's caused me to come out this way, to let them know that we need an answer.
Sumner's interview with APTN News last week did get noticed back home. A petition was put up and quickly taken down on Facebook saying Sumner does not have community support for what he's been doing.
I was so glad that petition came out because that shows me that people are listening.
Sumner is preparing to depart for Manitoba and is convinced it wasn't a wasted trip.
I wouldn't be here to come and tell untruth. I came here in peace to be heard, hoping the politicians and the bureaucrats know that a 2,300-kilometer drive is not something to take lightly.
Sumner is also running for council. It'll be his second attempt at doing so. Penamutang's election will be held at the end of October. Todd Lamoran, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Time for another quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Here's a look at the rest of Wednesday's weather forecast, picking back up in northern Alberta. 17 and sunny for Peace River and High Level. 13 and showers for Medicine Hat, Calgary, and Edmonton. Sunny and 20 for Victoria. Partly cloudy and 21 in Vancouver. 19 under sunny skies for Dease Lake and Fort Nelson. 20 with showers in Smithers. 16 in Old Crow. 18 for Dawson and Whitehorse. 19 is the high for Fort Liard and Trout Lake. 20 in Norman Wells. 9 above for Sax Harbor and Tuktoyaktuk. 17 is the high for Paulatuk. 14 in Arviette and Baker Lake. 9 in Cambridge Bay. 5 is the high in Igloolik and Joe Haven. Welcome back. A 16-year-old Métis singer in Alberta is catching a lot of attention and getting a lot of airplay. She has 2 songs on Indigenous radio across Canada and is soon releasing her first CD. APTN's Chris Stewart talks to singer-songwriter Mary Stinchcombe.
Thought I was strong enough to let you go, make a whole new start.
Mary Stinchcombe has a voice that sounds like it could be from the 1950s, reminiscent of Patsy Cline. 5 years ago, she started working with Cooper Studios in Sherwood Park. Jack Cooper helped develop her voice through the years. It's paid off. Mary now has 2 songs playing on local Indigenous radio across the country. And she has her debut CD coming out at the end of September on Spotify. All this at 16.
At first, it was a lot of stress, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm only 16. But now it's really nice, and I'm actually like really happy with how everything's going.
Jack Cooper owns Cooper Studios and has been teaching for decades.
She is a wonderful talent. Ever since she came to Cooper Studios, the minute I heard her, I knew that we had something extra special.
But you're so out of my reach. What I'd give just to touch you.
APTN asked Mary what her friends thought about her being on the radio.
They were all shocked. I told them about it when school had started up again. They were all like, oh, we weren't expecting that. That's cool.
Mary has the ambition to get to the top.
I hope to take my singing career as far as I can. That's really ultimately what I'd like to do in the future. And I'd like to get the songs that I've written recorded so that I have some of my own originals out there as well. Baby, you mean so much to me, but I can't tell you.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Sherwood Park, Alberta.
Good luck with the new album, Mary. That's your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For more, visit our website, aptnnews.ca, and stay up to date with the latest by downloading the APTN News app. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow.